Hello there and welcome to my YouTube channel, Juliet Nail Crafts. So today I thought we would make a journal cover using the Madhatters kit that is available in my shop. So I like to bring this in because I think it really does just emphasise the value of the Madhatters MDF kits. They are amazing. So this one here, this is £1 from the works. So I'd obviously picked it up thinking it was, you know, a cheap and cheerful something to alter at some point, but I'm just going to do this. So if I flip that, we have got the value of 2. So that piece of MDF in the works would roughly cost £2, which matches that. But then bear in mind we have a back piece, again, a similar equivalent of £2 worth there, plus we have the fancy little cutouts there. So I do think the Madhatter stuff is absolutely gorgeous. So these are journal pieces, MDF, and basically the idea is that you get your own book rounds and that you can have a deconstructed journals. Deconstructed journals are my favourite things because you can take the pages out, work on them, put them back in without damaging pages. You can also put lots of 3D elements in them because it doesn't matter if the journal gets fat, you're not going to break the spine. So I definitely want to have a play with those. So there's the mushroom set, which you can see just there. And there are the stars and moons, which are fab. I'm just trying to move them so that you can see it properly. There we go. And then we have just the stars. Now I have to say I have got myself 2 of each because I want to make a journal with each of them individually. But I also think them all layered together like that just makes for a really interesting journal. So we can sort of either have it so that's the back piece, which I think I might do on this occasion, or we can have it as the front piece and then that's the back piece there. But I think I might do it like this. The other thing I have pulled in is we have also on the website we've got packs of mushrooms, we've got like blossoms, we've got lots of little bits and pieces. So I thought I'm going to pop some of these mushrooms on. I'm going to try and build a scene, an MDF scene as the front of my journal. So we'll maybe decorate the front today and decorate these little top bits so that all looks good, and then we can gradually work on the journal through the year. So the first thing I am going to do is get my gesso out, and I'm just going to put white gesso over all of it. So let's just do that now. So just on the off chance that you're new to my channel, and if you are, hello and welcome. I hope you enjoy it here. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for still coming back and keeping watching. It means a lot. MDF will take whatever you throw at it. It's a very user-friendly surface. It's also a very porous surface. So I like to use gesso for 2 reasons. One, that when it comes to using your nice expensive paints and products that you've maybe spent a little bit more money on, you're going to get more value for money because it's not actually going to sink in, it's going to sit on top of the white gesso. So therefore it's more economical, you're making the most out of your products. The second reason is I like vibrant colours. I like my colours nice and vibrant, so if I was to put them just against the MDF on their own, they would end up having almost like a vintage hue to them, like a sepia hue to them, because they'd be going on the brown, they'd be layering up on that brown rather than layering up on the white. So you're just going to get, as I said, a slightly more vintage look. If I was going for a vintage look, to combat what I was saying about the fact it's porous, but still sort of keep the vintage look, I would do the exact same as I'm doing now, but I would use a transparent gesso to do that. So I am going to just go off camera, I think, and gesso all of this and some of these mushrooms and bits and pieces up, and then we will come back when we get to the painty stage. Okay, so we have gessoed everything. It has had about 2 coats of white gesso. So I've done all my little bits and bobs, I've done this, and I've done the front cover. So I'm just going to take the front cover away for a moment, and I'm going to just focus on doing some of these leaves. So I'm going to get my Delusion paint because kind of wanting to sort of use these up, to be honest. Right, so I have got yellow, a lime green, a teal. I've got another yellow here, which is also Dilution Lemon Zest. Is it the same? Yeah, so that's the same one, so I'll put that to the side. I've also got a Tropical Sangria in pink, and this one here. And I've got a little acetate sheet just to the side of me, but that'll reflect. So if I do some colour mixing, I'll cover it. Yeah. So mostly planning on just sort of mixing on the project, to be honest. Right, so I'm going to get, see, this is why you should use your products. That is really quite thick now. See that, how thick that is. And that's why I think they moved to a squeezy bottle. So I think I'm going to move that over. So instead I've now just popped a bit to the side here. I might actually take a bit of this, see if I can water it down with itself. Yeah. That's why you should use your stash. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of yellow and I'm just going to put that down here to start the grass. Now I'm not actually bothered about, I'm not going to be finishing this, I'm literally just going to be doing the top because I don't know what I'm doing with this page yet. This is going to be the back page because this goes here and then you've kind of got that feature of the toadstools at the top, which is fabulous. But as I said, because I don't really know what I'm doing with this page just yet, and it's at the back of my book, so I can't see me giving it much thought until a much later date. I'm just going to do the top of it. And I'm also going to get that yellow on all of these leaves. And we'll just build up a little bit of contrast. So I might at some point put you on fast forward. I do tend to take ages painting stuff up, but that's because I like to give my work a multi-tonal look. I just do. I don't think you need to get bogged down with light theory and stuff like that. I really don't. Or colour theory. I mean, if you're interested in it, it's interesting. But if you're not interested, then don't stress yourself about it. Crafting should be about enjoying yourself. But I do think if you're somebody that kind of looks at other people's creations and thinks, oh, well, that's lovely, mine doesn't look like that when I do it. Quite often it might just be down to not having multiple tones or shadows. It makes a huge difference, and it's honestly one of the easiest, quickest tips to getting amazing results. So I'm just, as I said, I'm just blending this on. So I've started off with a little bit of yellow, and now I am just, I've built it up to the lime green and then to the teal. And that just now gives me, well, it actually gives me more than the 3 shades that I've put on. As it's blending together, we've got loads of different colour tones going on there. And that really just helps to make it look a lot more realistic. Of course, we could have gone for autumn tones with our leaves as well. There's so many options with these things. It's amazing. Right, so there we go. That's those done, and then I'm going to do the same with my strokes here. I'm actually very loosely brushing it and not trying to blend it as well, because it's going to give me almost like individual grass strokes. Now I'll probably give what we've done a second coat, but I wanted to do it while it was wet so it blended in. And as you can see, I'm not even changing my brush between the colours. These colours are quite old, so as you can see they're getting a bit thickened, so I'm not overly concerned about contamination. Right, so that looks like really grass-like, so it's cool. Right, so now I'm going to start on the mushrooms, but what I think I will do is just pop you on fast forward while we do this, possibly while I do a second coat, and then I will get back to you when we're sort of on the next stage. Okay, so yeah, that's me finished painting, well, first coat of all the bits and bobs, and now I'm going to put a little bit of paint on this one here. Now where have I put my palette? Honestly, all I've done is put the bits and pieces, here it is, put the bits and pieces on the floor, my drying station, aka the drying station, and yeah, within that short time I managed to lose what I'd done with my palette. I did mix a kind of beige colour. I kind of thought I probably should have stayed on for that, but it was too late by the time I'd realised. So to do that I did the yellow and pink to almost create a bit of an orange, and then I added a little bit of white, and then it was just a bit too much like a pale peach then, and I kind of wanted to be a bit more browny, so I added a tiny bit of blue. So basically we had the three primary colours in there, but the tiniest amount of blue. So that was the difference. Now I'm kind of almost going to be creating a bit of an ombre here, but not quite, because I kind of want it sort of sky grass ombre. So not quite. So I sort of start off with my lighter colour and then put another colour on, then I start off a little bit and then work in, so I keep working down and up, and then that's kind of going to create a nice graduated look. And then I want to come out of this and put white in, so that we're going to blend that right out and make it all pale. So that's a little bit too, I think I need a clean brush. So I'm going to take some white and grab that. So this is why it's best to sort of work off, because I don't really want any more colour coming further up, but I need it to blend down. So I'm working off and blending down. The trouble is, because I'm going white, that is, I'm going to go through a load of brushes here now, because I think I might have some of my daughter's brushes. She treated herself to unicorn brushes. She's getting right into her art. She's actually, I can tell she's serious, because she's kept saying, can I have an art room, can I have an art room? And I was like, well, you can have an art station in your room, that's absolutely fine, but you've got loads of toys. I need to pull out some blue. I don't have a decent blue. Yeah, so she had said, well, you can have a space in your room, but it's just so full of toys right now, it's not really practical. So I was like, you're going to have to get rid of some of your toys. And she's sort of in that in-between stage. She does still play with her toys, but she's also growing up, you know. So she was like looking at all this stuff, and I was like, you don't have to get rid of it all, just have to get rid of some of it. But I was like, you also need to think about what you're wanting. You know, you're wanting a nice art space. So if your toys are kind of preventing you from getting that, then you need to remember what it is that you're trying to accomplish and stuff. So anyway, we've been working on it for the other week. We went through our teddy. We actually did our teddies first, and I was really impressed. She has masses of teddies. Seriously, you could never see the child in the bed because there were so many teddies. I've just put a bit of white out, and I'm gradually sort of pulling more blue into that white, and then pulling it onto the thing, so that hopefully by the time we get to the top we'll have a nice, I could have done something, now that I've painted it and it's too late, I was thinking I could have sort of masked some of it off and done some sort of fancy sun thing. Oh, sorry, bit of a brush. So yeah, she actually got rid of half her teddies, which was really impressive. So she did that first, and I knew that'd be the hardest, so we did it first. And then after that, she got a lot more confidence. So yesterday, she's got a whole load of toys under her bed and all these little compartment things. So we've gone through those and we've managed to empty a couple of boxes, which means she's now got room for her boxes and her art supply. And then because she's done so well, husband's found a nice bookshelf with like drawers at the bottom that can be her art. So she's so excited because she's going to display some of her artwork on it, and she's just really, really into her art, which is lovely. Obviously I love that. I love the fact that she's so into it. I do feel a bit sorry for my husband because he's got the two of us sort of hoarding and buying art supplies, so I'm sure that's lovely for him. But it is so nice. So she's all set, so hopefully at the weekend we'll be getting her that new set of drawers. We're almost done. I just need to reorganise her. That's our job for tonight, but she's actually quite excited by that because now we've got, we've done all the sort of getting rid of stuff now. And as I said, we've cleared a couple of boxes that are now available to fill with our craft supplies. So now all the stuff that's all over the place, we're pulling that together and organising that. So she's quite excited about that. So I'm just putting some of this white. I'm needing more paint to kind of get the movement, because my brush was too dry. I was losing the ability to move it across the page. So I'm just putting that up and down. So there we go. We've kind of created a sort of sky grass divide a little bit. I may put some, I don't know, let's see what it is. I think I'm quite happy with that for the minute. Yeah. So I'm going to put some nice pink bits at the side there because my fingers are still dirty. That's why you should wash your hands in between. Thankfully I have a load of brushes still having paint on them. I don't tend to whitewash my brushes at this stage. You find that they're all still sitting there with their colours of paint on, and that's because I don't really want to be watering my acrylic down. I want to be using it nice and thick. So I sort of wait till I'm finished all of this and then I'll go wash them. But that's looking quite good for the moment. Quite happy with that, especially once we've got all the bits and pieces on it. It'll look fabulous. I may put some texture over it. I haven't quite decided. But yeah, I'm going to give everything that you've watched me do a second coat. I'm going to let all of that dry, and then I will come back to you and we'll decide what we're doing next. Okay, so it's all dried. I had pulled out stuff to possibly do texture paste with it, and I've changed my mind. I'm just going to paint. So this is the Evergreen Berries. I don't know if this is on my website currently. If it's not, then it'll be on the Hachanda website. Sometimes stock goes back and forth between the two places. Yeah, so I'm going to get some yellow and green, and I'm going to pop that over the leaf part of this. It's kind of mixed in a bit with the blue anyway, so we're getting a bit of a green. I don't think it's going to be quite as neat as I would like it, so I'll probably do some work on it later with a white pen just to sort of bring it together. But for the minute, this is absolutely perfect. So we'll get that, and then let's get a bit of green as well. As I said, it's already sort of created a bit of a blended look with the fact that we've got blue behind it, so even though it's dried, it's still created that look. I'll have to go over that in a second. Let's get some pink into these berry bits. I'm just sort of going sort of between a little stipple and a little stipple and a little rub. I'm not quite sure. There we go. Get some, not necessarily do all of them, just get some of these circles in because I love circles, and circles just scattered about a project are even better. Right, let's get some. Trouble is probably could do with waiting for it to dry, but it's a bit harder to do that with a stencil because I'd have to overlay it in exactly the same place, which I suppose is feasible, but to be honest I'm being a bit lazy. I think I may have to come back and do a second coat with it and just deal with it, so yeah, because that's not really doing much. Right, so we'll move that. Ooh, I like. Right, I'm just going to put, well, not a huge amount, but a tiny bit up there. We'll do the same. Get some of the yellow on, but yeah, I'm definitely going to have to do a second coat of that and a little bit of doodling, and we'll all be good. all be sorted. Right, so we've got that, a little bit of pink, and whilst this is drying I'm going to get some Distress ink goodness on some of the other bits and bobs. There we go. Let's just bring a couple of those circles down here as well, just because we can. Right, there we go. So that's looking, it's looking quite pretty, isn't it? Right, so I'm just going to leave that to the side. I'll leave my brushes there because it shouldn't take too long for that to dry. It's quite a thin coat, so I'll come back to that in a moment, and let's sort out what we're doing with all the feature pieces. Okay, so I'm going to do my usual and add a little bit of extra shading to some of these pieces, and just, I don't know, I love building up shading and layers so that it gives it more depth. I probably should have put more paint around the edges of those things, but hey ho, it is what it is. Right, so I'm not going to be putting it down all of it because I don't want to lose that yellow, but I'm just wanting to create added depth in some of those areas. So I'm going to go on with the leaves. I'm going to go on with this peacock feathers first, just to deepen that, and then I'm going to go in with a tiny bit of black soot. And that kind of scares a lot of people, but it really does make a difference having a strong shadow. Right, there we go. Let's get that on. So again, I'll do the leaves with you, and then I'll maybe do the rest of it on fast forward for you, just so that this video doesn't become overly repetitive. Trying to get the balance. So I'm going to ask you actually, so that I know for future reference, when it is stuff that's repetitive and kind of goes on and on and on, would you prefer to have a video that's an hour and a half long and see everything, or do you prefer this sort of like a bit of both, a little bit of seeing what you're doing, brief explanation, and then it's speeded up so you can see the process but it's not taking up too much of your time? Oh, I'm interested to know now, that's a little bit too much, but that's fine. I'm just taking it off the brush a bit and then blend it, so don't panic. It still looks great, but it's like the black really just does give quite a bit of depth to it, which I like. But take it to the stage that you like it, because these are your craft projects, that nobody's way is right. We all sort of develop our own techniques. It's a lovely community, the crafting community, and we're very good at sharing, and so that's nice. And so we can take the bits, the hints and tips from people that we think, oh, do you know what, yeah, that works for me, and the bits that don't work for you, don't feel you have to do it. There is no right or wrong way. As I said, I just personally love building up the colour and having really definite highlights and shadow. For me, that just ticks all the boxes and it makes me happy, which is why I do it. But if it doesn't make you happy, don't feel you have to. Do what makes you happy. Right, I'm going to do similar with the little mushrooms, and for that I'm going to do fired brick and distress and the black soot. And for the little flowers I'm going to go picked raspberry, and I doubt I'll be putting the black on the picked raspberry. I've also got walnut stain for the edges of the mushroom there. So as I said, I'm just going to pop you on fast forward while I finish. Getting there. I'm having a really lovely day today. Nice and chilled out and just crafting away. It's wonderful. Right, I am going to do some doodlage, but these little mushrooms have these gorgeous little spots on them, so I'm just going to white it out with gesso first, and then I'll probably get a white pen on there just to sort of finish it off. I will probably be doodling on all the elements because, yeah, that's me. I can't actually live without doodling, so it will end up going on all of the elements. But just on these mushrooms, I just want something a little bit... my white pen's good, but I just... what you tend to find with white is that even when it's really, really dry, if you're working with a water reactive product, which the distress inks are, which we've layered on top, even though the acrylics are not, but there's still that sort of tendency for it to absorb some of the colour. And so you'll find that these dots that I do now will take on a slightly pinkish hue by the time they're dry. So my thinking on the matter is it's gesso, and we quite often use gesso to create that base coat for us to work on. It allows us to work on top of various mediums. So then if I get my white pen on top of the gesso, hopefully it should stay a nice true white instead of taking on that colour tone, which it would with a pen, because no matter what ink we use, whether we're using a paint or a pen, we're basically using a wet medium, and we're taking a wet medium on top of a water reactive product, so it will take on some of that colour. It's sort of unavoidable. For some of those tiny dots, I think it's going to have to just be at the pen. So I am going to continue to do that on these mushrooms and those ones there, and then I'll be back. Okay, so that's all my little mushroom bits just coloured in slightly. And I have pulled out my white pen because I will be doing some doodlage with that. I've also pulled out my new jelly roll pens. These are becoming a firm favourite of mine. I can see me collecting a lot more, but when I've realised just how good they are on mixed media, they have become a slight new obsession. So I am going to see if I can just get some of this pen work into these laser cuts. Have slight engraved pieces for the detail, so it's just getting some of that detail back in, and I thought rather than do it with black, I'm going to do it with various different colours. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to get my white pen and do my usual sort of white highlights. I do this on any sort of stamped image or anything like that. I just think it helps to bring it to life, so I'm just doing that. I might add a few little dots and things, and again it just sort of adds that another little element. This is it. I love just doing this, building layer upon layer upon layer of different things. So I'm going to carry on doodling these different things. I have also just popped a story on my Instagram page of my desk today. I realise by the time this goes live it'll not be there anymore, but inviting you to share your desk as well. And so it's quite a good way of sort of, if you're trying to increase your social media reach and stuff like that, you can participate in things like that, because then if you shared your desk, everyone on my feed would see your desk too. Does that make sense? If you do it through the sticker. So it's quite a good way of supporting each other. So if you fancy joining in with these random things that I may occasionally put on, I may occasionally put on the old socials. My Instagram is @JuliaMcNeilCrafts. My Facebook's also @JuliaMcNeilCrafts, and I also have a Facebook group called JMC Crazy Craft Hive. But on my Facebook page I do a live every Monday night. We're actually working on a journal like this currently. We're doing the star one. So yeah, and that's quite good because it's interactive. It means that you can sort of ask me questions as I go, or I can ask you, do you want, should we do this? What do you think? And it can just add an extra little, yeah, it's fun. So if you ever fancy joining me on any of those, feel free. I'm going to just again pass you on to fast forward. Again, I'm not sure if this is the best way. Please do let me know in the chat if you'd prefer just to have me waffling to you as I merrily go on my way, adding all the details and things, or if you actually prefer seeing it sort of half and half, partially waffling and partially what you call it, partially waffling and partially sped up. To put it in perspective, I started the well, apart from the gesturing, I did that the other day, but since we've been doing the colouring side of it, I started that at about 9 o'clock, just after 9 o'clock this morning. It's now currently 12:15, so obviously I wouldn't have it going quite that long. You know, I have stopped and had a cup of tea and had bathroom breaks and various things like that, but you know, so that's, you know, a couple of hours worth. And so had I not sped this up, or not sped it up as much, you know, there is a potential for this video to be well over an hour long. I have no idea how long it'll be with the fact that I have sped it up, but just to give you that sort of perspective before you pop in the chat what you prefer. But it's just because I make these videos because I enjoy crafting, so and it's nice to feel like I'm chatting away to my crafty friends in the crafty community, so a huge part of it I do it for me, I'm not gonna lie. But obviously I want to make videos that you'll enjoy, that you want to watch. If there's anything you particularly like to see me do, then let me know. But also your opinion as to what type of videos and how they're formatted is important to me. So I can't say I will ever do a full sped up version, because I don't they're not my favourite to watch, in that I quite often watch YouTube videos when I'm busy doing other stuff. So like, for example, tomorrow I am going to be setting on an adventure of organising my craft space, which, you know, actually I'm going to put the pink in the centre there. Yeah, so yeah, I'm really needing to, I'm going to be filming part of the process for that and putting it up here, more because I'm planning on getting organised this year or next year with my crafting, because it bothers me how disorganised I am. But I'm not the most organised person, so I was thinking that if I can manage to put systems in place that gets me organised, that they might be helpful for other people. So I do plan on sort of sharing my let's get organised journey. So I will be doing that. But so for example, tomorrow when I start on that, I will be watching YouTube videos, watching other crafters create. So if it's full music constantly, I basically don't get to see the video, if that makes sense, because I'm a bit distracted. So I miss a lot of it because I can't sort of sit there and just fully watch. I'm sort of doing other things at the same time. Whereas if it's a chatty video, I feel like I'm there with you chatting, and I can sort of glance up and have a look and see what's going on. So I get a lot more from it when it's not sped up and it is sort of talking and stuff like that. So I can't say I would ever go to a full sped up one, but I'm just wondering whether, look at the difference that makes. I'm just going to try and zoom in a second, just so that we can see the difference that doodling makes. Because I don't have an auto zoom, I have to sort of pause, zoom in, zoom out. So look, that's the that's one where I've doodled a few lines and little dots, and that's it plain. But doesn't it just bring it to life so much more? So that's why I do spend time sort of doodling away on that. Yeah, and I've been waffling on talking about whether I should speed up or not. So I will do that from this bit here. I will speed up, and yeah, I'll see you when I'm all done. Getting there, and I'm so excited if I was looking. So that's there. I've doodled. I also added little dots to almost look like little blossoms, and I just scribbled to make it look more grass-like. We might do those techniques at the bottom here as well, so you can still see them. That's how it looks with that. And then we will layer these mushrooms up down here. Oh my goodness, I am so happy. Oh, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeousness. Love. Very happy bunny. Now, I think I'd originally planned to put these up here. I suppose it still works, yeah, because I've got the double layers, so that works quite well. Something like that, maybe. Work it out and see. So we've got that. I also want to bring in Sammy the snail. How good does that look? So that's kind of where we're going. Right, so a couple of different things. I am just going to try and make this look a little more part of it, and I'm just going to freehand scribble with the white, she says. We are going to be covering it, so if it's not perfect, it doesn't really matter, but it's just going to sort of knock it back slightly and make it look a bit more part of it. I'm also contemplating just stamping a tiny little bit of text detail. I shouldn't, you know, the problem with this is it's still just that tiny bit damp, I think, and I'm in danger of breaking my pen. That green bit is, so I'll avoid that and come back to that later. These other bits seem dry, so we're okay. So if you find that your white pen, because when I was literally just using it and it was working fine, and then all of a sudden it wasn't, it's because the paint was a bit too wet. And as I said, you're liable to break your pen, so you're best just being patient. So very loose scribbles here. There's no way these are perfect circles, but it just sort of ties it together slightly and makes it look. I said it gives it a bit of a sketchy feel, but because the paint effects weren't exactly perfect, it will help with that a little bit. Right, so let me pull out, I'm just going to clear these pens away. I'm going to pull out a text stamp, and as I said, I just fancy doing very subtle text stamps. I'm going to look through my bit box and see what GMC flowers we've got, and as I said, I do fancy sort of colouring up our Sammy. I don't think I have one of him pre-coloured, so I will have to colour that up. But yeah, once I have, I'll be back. But yeah, what do you think? Do you like? I think we're getting there. It's fab. I'm happy. Anyway, I'll stop faffing because you've already seen me do that once. I'll be back soon. Okay, so I've stamped out and coloured in little Sammy. These are just gorgeous. And I've got some flowers and bits and bobs, and also I found these, which I quite like. And so I was thinking that I might use those. And I had pulled these colours out, and now I'm sort of changing my mind, thinking that maybe, I don't know whether the blue, do you know what, I'll go blue. I'll do what I did originally intended, because if it doesn't work out, it's a piece of paper, so I can always cut myself another one. I'm trying to decide whether to go blue or to go silver. So I'm going to use my pretty whipped mousse gorgeous stuff, this, and I'm just going to paint it across. This is what's marvellous. This is designed as a texture paste, so you can use it as a texture paste. Or you can thin it down and use it as a paint. It can be used almost like a gilding wax. It is lovely stuff. I know I have mentioned it before, but I will at some point have a play with it and do a, oh yeah, that's nice. Do a play with it and do a proper review. I am going to put some of another colour over that in a minute though. So I'm doing this first because I'm going to let that dry while we do some other bits and bobs. Oops. Yeah, I just thought, it almost reminds me, I know there's not a gate there, but it's kind of like the things of a book or like a wrought iron gate. So I've got the copper out as well, which I will, but I only wanted highlights of that, so I'll pop that there in a minute. Pop that to the side. Right, now, I had said that I fancy doing a little bit of stamping, so I don't want a lot, and also just one. I should have looked that out first, shouldn't I? That would have been handy. So I've got my Stamplamentals stamp set. I think this is edition 2, and this is the one with my granny's handwriting. I've actually designed some stamps that'll be much later next year, and I didn't want... Oh no, this is the grey one. Just double checking that this is grey. Yeah. With my other granny's handwriting. So that's quite exciting. Right. Okay. I don't want a lot. I just want a little bit of text. I think because it's going to be a journal. I just feel like I want a little bit more interest. I'll soften that edge. I want a hard line on this page a little bit, just so it looks a bit more, I don't know, a bit more journaly. To me, when I do journal pages, there's loads of layers and loads of interest, and although this is the front cover, I just feel it's lacking a bit of that for me, just because, yeah, just because. No other reason. Right, there we go. So that's that. And then what I also want to do is I want to add white splashes, because I want white splashes on this bit, but I don't particularly want it on everything else. So I'm going to do that now and pop that aside. Where's my white ink doobly dabbery stuff gone? Honestly, I've been so impressed with myself. I've been having a lovely little time crafting away to myself today, and you know, I've been relatively on top of myself, and you know, not creating too much mess, and now I feel like I'm going back into the usual mayhem that is my craftiness. Right, so I'm going to pop some white splashes on this. As I said, once I've built up all the other layers, I don't particularly want white splashes on everything for some reason. Don't ask me why, because I have no idea. So pop that there. I've done that, so I'll pop that to the side while it dries. And then the next thing I'm going to do is grab my blending mat, because I have got some clouds, of course, because it's me. And you know, life would not be complete without some clouds in my project. And I'm going to grab pale blue ink. I'm just going to edge around this. So these, both Sammy and these little clouds, come from the Sammy stamp set. So that's quite handy. They were both on the same one. So this just, again, just going to give it a bit more detail, and then I'll grab my white pen in again and just scribble a bit of doodling onto this. I just like to just literally scribble, and I just think it adds to the texture of the cloud. Okay. Like so. Exciting stuff. There we go. Right. So pop that up there. I'm hoping that once we've done these little bits, everything should just sort of come together really quickly now. Now I'm going to almost do dry brushing here. I don't want a full amount. I want to cover the blue, but I still want to see the blue. So I'm going to just make that I've got a very little amount on my brush. So I almost want it to have like a copper tone to it, but that it still maintains the blue. I'm very fussy, aren't I? So I'm just knocking quite a lot of that off. This is just thin paper, so it is just curling up a bit. But by the time we've got it stuck down, so it almost looks kind of not a silvery, because you know we've used blue, but the blue sort of knocked down the copper, and yeah, the copper's knocked away the blue, so we've kind of, yeah, like that. Right, so I'll put that on here, and this is, again, I think I was saying it earlier in the video about multi-tones. Like the blue looked beautiful, it was a lovely metallic sheen, but just having that one shade, it looked very flat, and especially as we've put a lot of effort into the rest of it, that again, just adding a separate tone there just sort of takes it to another level. Right, so let's see if the base part is dry. It's getting there. I'll just maybe just give that a little. Actually, I'm just going to turn off because I don't really want to. I don't really want to start heat drying it. I've done so well with not touching it with heat so far, so I'm just going to let that dry a little minute, tidy up my craft space a bit, and I'll be back when we're ready. So I've let that dry off a little bit. I'm going to do a similar thing to what I did up here, so I can show you. I did do it on speed up, but I will do it in real time just now. So I'm going to take a couple of my pens, my Main Glow pens, and I am just going to literally scribble. So there's nothing difficult about this at all. I am just scribbling. So anyone can do this. Don't be afraid that you're going to ruin it or anything like that. You're really not. So I'm doing grass as a scribble. I'm making sure it's different heights. So I'm going from a lower amount to a higher amount. That's going to make it look more natural. I'm sure you've never seen even grass. If you have, it's astroturf, and it doesn't look very nice, does it? It's very difficult to get very, you know, you walk past gardens and you can just tell, can't you? You can tell, like, yep, that's fake grass. So when, sorry, my Fitbit just fell off. When you're doing your things, don't worry. We actually don't want to even, because it doesn't look quite right when it is. So I'm actually just scribbling. The fact it's on the edge here is just causing a little bit of difficulty for me, but we're all right. What I can do is we can always ink into it if we need to. Or to be honest, I'll probably be doodling around the edge of everything with a black pen because it's me and I like to do that. Right. So that's my mid, and I'm now going to grab a yellow and I'm going to scribble along there. And basically all I'm doing is just creating a little bit of texture on here, and that's going to make it have that feeling of grass, to be honest. You can do this with anything. You can do this with pencils, and a lot of my journal pages, when I'm actually working on pages as opposed to the cover, I do it with pencils. So it's just that the pens happen to be on my desk. If you are a bit unhappy about the unevenness of it, we can just, let's see if I can grab a green ink, and I can just sort of tone that in. I can grab the edge like that, and that can just help to tone it in. There we go. Except it's kind of affected my ombre look, but to be honest, we're going to have so much going on down here, we're all good. So it's just it's going to be like a little detail in the background. So these are my little things here. So I'm going to pop them down. I'm really pleased with how they turn out. So that's like a mixture of the blue. I can I've just tidied it away. I'll put it in the description box below, all the details to all the products that are available on my shop if you want to make something like this. Right, so I'm going to put it there. Now, with the paper, I'm not bothered if I overlap the holes a little bit, because all I will do is flip the project round like so, grab my craft knife and cut in there. So I'm not bothered about that. Obviously we can't do that when we're layering the MDF, so we are going to have to put a bit more thought into it when it comes to we're going to have to put a bit more thought into it when it comes to popping our MDF there, because obviously we're going to have jump rings in that, so we don't really want the jump ring to be catching off anything. I like to cluster things in a corner, so that could be a bit of an issue for me, but we'll just have to work our way around it. I'll stick that down. We will actually, I'm just at the minute using my wet glue, but I will be getting my MDF out in just a second, because we will need the gel medium out for when we're actually sticking the MDF down For the minute, I think we're okay with this. Right, so I'm going to get these down, get my clouds down, and then we'll start building up the MDF. Now I did take a photograph. This is one of my tips that whilst looking for a layout that you like, take a quick photograph of it, because you can guarantee that you can you can almost forget. In fact, I had those had that further down in my picture, I've noticed now. But yeah, I'm just going to tuck that under there. Get it look a bit more natural if it. Just peel that back slightly. There we go. I've got that one there. Then I'm going to put two over here, I think. This is my favourite part, where we're just building a scene. I love scene building. Anything that I make or create, I do love scene building. So it'd be cool to have it. I don't think I've got a journal. Oh no, I do have one. My one that I did before. I'm going to pop that about there. What do you call it? My Jane Davenport one. I ended up putting an art by Marlene rice paper over it, which built a scene. Right, so that's that. I'm also now going to get some of these that are cut out. And stick those down. Because these are kind of going behind different elements that I've got. Now after this I'm going to be I'm just going to go and grab my gel medium now. I'm going to have some more of those down here, but I'll just wait to see where we are. Right, 2 seconds. So I've got my Pretty Gets Gritty gel medium, and I am now going to start putting the MDF pieces on. This is my journal. It is going to take, I realize how many of my daughter's brushes that I've got in here, but I'll go and put them through. I think it's probably my husband that put them away. He's probably trying to clear them from the bathroom. They've all just got put in here. Yes, it's my journal cover. I use my journals a lot. They're going to go in and out of a shelf or on a display. I'm going to be constantly using it, taking pages in and out. So I want this to stick really, really well. Gel medium literally sticks anything to anything. It also has an element of flexibility, which is what makes it such a good glue, because it will move as a project, especially as this is a porous thing. It's going to, even moisture from the air, it will absorb it, it will extract and expand and extract constantly. So we need to be aware of that when we're choosing our adhesive. But that's what makes gel medium wonderful. So right, I'm going to pop, at some point I will need to probably get some cardboard to balance all of this is going to work. So I think we're probably about there. Let me get my other two. Get those stuck down about there. That's exciting, isn't it? Very excited how this is all coming together. I might actually even get it all, I mean it'll not be dry in time because, you know, gel medium will take a while to dry, but I may actually get this all done before having to do the school run. I'll tell you how long I've been working on it. Did I say I started this at just after 9 o'clock? It's now 25 minutes to 3. I have had lunch and things in between. Answered the odd email. Right, so I'm just going to get some cardboard. I've got this mushroom balancing on the MDF. It's going to be a gap just there. So I just want to give it a little bit of added support in the areas that are kind of loose, as it were. So I'll do that by just adding a little bit of cardboard to those areas. Cardboard is a wonderful resource, it really is. You can use it for so much. You can use it for dimension, things like that. just to give things a bit more stability. 2 layers, and we can also use it as a substrate. Marvellous thing, and it's something that we all have loads of. Think about how much cardboard you throw out. All the Amazon parcels, cat food boxes. We go through a fair amount of it, so it tends to be a resource that we all have just there. So handy one to use. Just gonna put that down there. As I said, it's just going to give, basically it's going to give a bit more surface area to stick to the main project, which is just going to make the whole thing a lot more stable. In fact, the next thing I start filming is going to be made out of cardboard. Dawn and Julia create for a Saturday, I think. Yeah. Looks like I might actually be filming it. Mind you, I was hoping to do it today, but we're about to be doing the school run, so. And I have my live on my Facebook page tonight, so we'll see what we actually get done. There we go. It's just made it ever so slightly more stable. There's wee bits just leaking out. I can just get a little brush, take that off. It dries clear, so don't worry about it overly. I don't particularly want globules of bits sitting there. Right, I'm going to stick this one down as well now. And then I'll work out what I'm doing with the leaves and the flowers. And there's Sammy. Okay, dokie, right. So I'm probably going to be cutting some of these leaves to get it where I want to be. Now this is where I need to be careful because, so I actually think I'm just going to snip off this branch part because this is going to end, I want it about there, but it's going to end up being close to that hole, so I don't want it too far over because I don't want it to be interfering with the ring, the book ring, when I put a book ring in. So again, I'm being really generous with this, and that's because I want it to last forever, which it should do. This gel medium is amazing stuff. I couldn't craft without gel medium. It's one of those sort of must-have items. That and a black pen. Couldn't live without them. Oh look, isn't that pretty? Right, big glob of that. That would be the technical term. Okay, now I think I want a leaf coming about there. So again, just to make things easier for myself, I'm going to take the stalk part off. Okay, so I need to put a little bit of cardboard on the tips of both of those. Okay, so I've built up the cardboard on Sammy the snail, so that you didn't have to watch that whilst I did the leaf. I just sort of took myself off camera and built all of that. I can't do that one-handed because it's moving too much. This is the thing, that there is an element of movement. Everything needs to dry before it's stuck, so it does, in some ways it's forgiving, which is awesome, and in other ways you just gotta go a little bit canny at times until it's dry. There we go, that's our Sammy in there now. Right, so I just want to add a little bit of detail up here. I kind of don't know if I want. Let me see. Let me see. Right, so I have in my picture something like that. So again, just to make my life easier, I'm going to take those bits off. Put them like that. can go like that. I'm thinking. Okay. And a bit of doodling, as I said. I'm going to see if I can manage to just 10 minutes. 10 minutes after we go and collect her ladyship from school. I'm just going to see if I can give it a bit of a doodled edge before I go, because that would be wonderful. Right, so I'm not too worried about things overlapping at this side because there's not going to be the rings in the way, so that's not going to be an issue at all. Now, I'm not sure if the gap down by little Sammy is too big and annoying. I don't know if it's going to annoy me. And whether I can just sort of stamp some leaves just to fill it, or whether it actually looks okay. Just there. Or whether it maybe just needs a little flower behind it or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's looking alright. Oops, let's not leave that in there. That's one sure way to get a stick. Put that straight in water. Right, so I'm just going to, this will be very rough for just now because I'm going to have to very delicately cut this off, and it probably needs to be done slightly better. I'm just going to chop that there for just now, and as I said, later once it's dry I will flip, and those bits there that are kind of overlapping the holes, I will go in and get those. So let me see, where's my black pen? I think it must be out because the one that I normally use is not in there. Let's see, for this one. And we will just doodle a little edge, little frame. Oops. So that all of those pieces will move. It's probably going to take a good few hours before it's sort of set, and probably overnight before I would 100% trust that we're all good to go. But I just kind of want to give you an idea before we come back and have a proper look at that. But I'm happy with it. I just realised I had intended to do, I'll be able to come in and do that just now actually. I did little pink dots in amongst the grass on the upper part, so I'd meant to do that down here. But we should be able to just add that in now, but just grab one of my pink. It's almost like we're creating a slight sort of floral spray. That might actually make a difference down there. Put that in. Yeah, so it's kind of like, it's the suggestion, almost like impressionism. It's not really there, but it's just like a suggestion of little pink florals just through dots. They don't even look like flowers. So that's that, and then that would go on there like so. And we've created our deconstructed MDF journal. So I'm going to let that dry, and then we can have a proper look at it together. Okay, so it's all dry now. It's the next day, so this is well and truly solid. I'm not going to destroy that at all, which is awesome. Just a couple more bits and pieces I want to do to finish off. I feel that this just needs to be darker in this corner, so I'm just going to darken that up. I'm going to start off by using my pencils, and if need be I'll get some distress inks just to build up the colour around here. And I'm also thinking some little Nouveau drops in those two little holes there, just to almost make it look like a little bit of a screw head would be cool. So I'm just going to pull out some Inktense Pencils and some various greens, and we can see how we get on with that. But it's just, I'm just feeling like it's just needing a bit of shadow, as we have touched on already many times on this channel and even in this video. I do have a thing about shading. Also just think it'll help all of this just to look a bit grounded. At the minute it sort of looks like it's floating. So these are my Inktense pencils, which I am in love with. They work like a watercolour when you put them on. So for me, they're nice and easy to control. But once they are dry, they are in ink, hence the name Inktense. So they dry permanent, which means you can really layer up the colour, which makes this one of my favourite things to do. Right, so I'm going to start off with this lighter green. And then I will build up to some of the darker colours. We have to wait for this to dry in between before layering up. At the minute it's sort of sitting on top of the other paints and things. So it's just, I'm moving the colour quite a lot. We're building it up, but there's quite a lot of movement to it. Once that's maybe dry, we can build on that a little bit more. I can also take it directly from the pencil in a bit, but let's just get this first layer on, get that dry, and then we can see what occurs from there. Already we can just see that we've got a bit more definition. I have started with the lightest green as well, so I am going to build up a bit. Just going to let that dry off a second. Okay, so I have let that dry. I'm coming in with a darker colour here. I'm actually thinking I'm going to have to take it directly off the brush. So that's another thing you can do. You can just almost use your pencil as a paint palette. Lift it directly from the nib of the pencil onto your brush. So I think this is going to take a little while to build up. For some reason it's not sitting on the surface overly well, but that's fine. It'll all be alright in the end. So what I may do, I'm also just, because it's the way it's moving is a bit funny, I'm sort of tapping my brush like that, so that even if it does sort of dry a little bit funny as it's going on, it's going to still mimic grass. So I think what I'm going to do is pop it on, fast forward again while I do this. It's already looking better though, actually. I'm just looking at it in the screen now and thinking, do you know what, that's looking alright, I might just keep going. I'll always keep going, but I'm just going to try and get up in here as well. Get my paintbrush behind that gap, because there would definitely be a shadow in there. So possibly once this is dry we could do some scribbles again with our pens. As I said, what's fab about this is it will just build up. We're not going to move what's underneath, so we can really build this up. So yeah, I'm going to keep faffing and I'll be back. I think we'll probably just let that dry. Okay, so I just let that layer dried, and it's actually, that mottled effect has worked well. It still looks like the grass. It's given it this shadow down here, which I like. I'm just going to get my Mungo pen again and go back in with some of those dots that we had that were sort of representing little floral elements. So just popping that back in because we've kind of lost those a little bit on that side. Then we're all good. And then just going to, I've got this silver Nuvo drop. To be honest, I was hoping that I had one a bit darker, but I don't seem to. And of course it's donkeys since these have been used. Sorry about that. Right. Let's just get that filled in there. Oh, that looks nice. give it a little tap. Just evens it out. So let me just clear these last few things off the desk. Oop, and whoop. It's all running all over the place. I'm going to tidy up between finishing this one and starting on my next project, which is a novel idea for me, but hey ho. There we go. So that is my journal cover all done. I have written a blog article about why I like journaling, why I feel it's important. I might have covered on some of the bits and pieces whilst I was blethering, but there'll be a link to that below as well. And yeah, so thank you very much for joining me. If you have enjoyed it here, please do consider liking and subscribing. Interacting with the channel really does help content creators, so if you're able to do that, that'd be fabulous. And I hope to see you again very, very soon. Okay, take care then, and goodbye.